It's so for real to touch, to smell, to feel, to know when you're.
The stages were packed. The crowds were screaming. These voices filled arenas and put rock and roll on the map. But then, silence. You know the songs. You've sung them 1,000 times. But do you really know who sang them? Some of these men didn't fade out slowly. They disappeared almost overnight. Fame, then nothing. This is the story the history books left out. 10 voices, 10 rises, 10 vanishing acts that nobody ever fully explained. Number 10 will change how you hear a song you've loved for decades. Number 10, Terry Reid, Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace. Close your eyes for a second and think about the kind of voice that hits you before the song even starts. The kind of voice where you just know this person was born to do this. That was Terry Reid. Raw, soulful. Wild around the edges. When you hear this track for the first time, it grabs you by the collar and doesn't let go. The year is 1969, bleeding right into the early 70s. Terry is young, barely out of his teens, and he's already got the kind of pipes that make producers stop mid-sentence. This track was recorded at a time when British rock was exploding, when the world was hungry for something that sounded like it came from the earth itself. And Terry delivered. The song has this slow-burning quality, like a fire that doesn't rush. It builds. And when his voice opens up in the middle of it, you feel it in your spine. The label was Decca in the UK, Capitol in the States, and producer Mickey Most, one of the sharpest ears in the business at the time, was behind the boards. Mickey knew what he had. The song was about commitment, about standing up and being counted in love, but the way Terry sang it made it feel like something much bigger, like it was about life itself. Here's the fun fact that still blows people's minds, and if you already know this, you know how wild this story is. Terry Reid was the first choice to front Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page personally called him. Offered him the spot, and Terry said no. He turned it down. Not because he was scared, not because he didn't believe in the music. He had his own deal, his own direction, and he felt like the timing wasn't right. He recommended a kid named Robert Plant instead. The rest, as they say, is the biggest rock history footnote in the world. But here's the thing, and this is what hurts Terry. Never quite got the rocket fuel that Led Zeppelin got. He made records, beautiful, brilliant records, but the distribution was inconsistent. The label never fully committed to a big push in America. Radio was already starting to pick its winners, and Terry wasn't being handed that spotlight the way others were. He kept working, kept touring, but the mass audience that should have been his never fully arrived. And that is the quiet tragedy of talent that arrives at the wrong moment or makes one left turn when everything else was turning right. Terry Reid deserved an arena. He got a cult following instead. A devoted one, but still. If you've never heard this man's voice before today, your 70s rock education just got a whole lot richer. Stay with me because number 9 is a name you might have heard once and then never again. And that is the entire crime. Number 9, Emitt Rhodes, Fresh as a Daisy. This one feels different from the start, lighter in texture. almost like sunshine coming through a window on a slow Saturday morning. But don't let that softness fool you. What Emitt Rhodes built with this song and with his whole debut album was something almost impossible. He did it alone. Completely, stubbornly, brilliantly alone. It's 1970. Emitt is 21 years old, sitting in a home studio he built himself in his parents' garage in Hawthorne, California. He wrote everything. He played everything: guitars, bass, drums, keyboards. He sang everything. And he recorded, mixed, and produced it all himself. In 1970, before home recording was even a concept most people understood, the label was Dunhill Records, and when they heard what he'd made, they were stunned. This wasn't a demo. This was a finished album that sounded like it came out of a top-tier studio. The song itself is warm and melodic, full of layered harmonies that wrap around you. Critics compared him to Paul McCartney, and that comparison is not an exaggeration. It's genuinely accurate. The fun fact, and it's a wild one, is that Emitt got that McCartney comparison so often and so loudly that the press started treating it as his whole identity. The one-man Beatles. And for a moment, it worked. People were genuinely excited. He was seen as the next big thing. There was real momentum. But here is where it gets painful. Dunhill had a contract clause. It required Emitt to deliver albums at a pace that was simply not human. When you're writing, playing, recording, producing everything yourself, you cannot rush the process. But the label could not wait. The pressure became crushing. The relationship soured. Albums that should have had time to breathe were rushed or delayed. By the time the mid-70s arrived, Emitt Rhodes had essentially been squeezed out of his own career by a contract that never gave him room to be the artist he actually was. He largely stepped away from music for decades. The industry that should have celebrated him had chewed through him instead. There is something deeply unfair about a man that talented being worn down by paperwork and deadlines, and this song is proof of everything the world almost missed. If you're enjoying this so far, smash that like button. It really does help us keep these deep dives coming, and there are 9 more stories just as real as this one. Number 8 is coming up, and this one involves a sound that was ahead of its time by about 10 years, and a frontman who paid the price for that.
Hey, Rocklore community. Before we continue, let's have a real talk for a second, bro. You know, this isn't just a channel to us. And I hope it's not just a place you come to watch a video and then forget about it. This is a community. It's a place where we get to dig up the secrets of rock and roll, share our favorite riffs, and celebrate the artists who maybe didn't get the love they deserved. Right now, only about 1% of our viewers are subscribed. We can change that together and grow this community. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on. When you do, you're not just helping a channel grow, you're becoming a member of the Rocklore family. You're signaling to us and to YouTube that these stories matter, that this music is worth preserving, and that this community is a place you want to be. Subscribing is your way of making sure you're always in the loop. It means you'll be the first to know when we unearth a forgotten legend, drop a new countdown, or dive into a piece of rock history you've never heard before. So if you're a true fan of the lore, if you get that same feeling of discovery that I do, then come join us. It takes 1 second to be a part of something bigger.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 8. Skip Spence. Little Hands. One on late at night, with headphones, alone, because this song will reach into a place in you that most music never finds. It's fragile and strange, and somehow more honest than almost anything else you'll hear. Skip Spence made music that sounded like it came from somewhere just outside of normal reality, and that's because, in many ways, his life existed there too. He was a founding member of Jefferson Airplane and then Moby Grape, two of the most important bands of the late 60s and early 70s counterculture. But Orr, the solo album he released in 1969 that contains Little Hands, is something else entirely. He recorded it in Nashville, which was itself a strange choice for someone steeped in San Francisco, psychedelia coming directly from a psychiatric hospital where he had been admitted after a breakdown. He checked himself out, rode a motorcycle to Nashville, and recorded the album mostly alone. Columbia Records released it with almost no promotion. They didn't know what to do with it. It was too raw, too personal, too unclassifiable. Fun fact is that Orr was so far ahead of its time that when it was reissued decades later, it was immediately recognized as a masterpiece. Beck, Tom Waits, Robert Plant, and others have cited it as a major influence. It didn't chart on release. It barely registered.
Come from heaven, you know that's so.
But the musicians who found it passed it to each other like a secret, like something precious that the mainstream world had accidentally let slip through the cracks.
Okay, just as long as you're here to help me.
Skip's story is not one of industry betrayal in the conventional sense. His struggles were deeply personal mental health challenges that were severe and real, in an era when those things were not understood, not supported, and not spoken about openly.
It doesn't matter how long you stay.
The music industry of the 70s had no framework for caring for someone like Skip. He was loved by his peers, but the system around him was simply not built for what he needed. Little Hands is a window into a mind that was brilliant and hurting at the same time, and that combination in the right song can produce something that lasts forever. We are moving to number 7 now, and this one comes with a controversy that we will fully unpack a little further down the list. I want you to hold on to that. Because when we get there, you're going to understand why this particular story never made the mainstream history books. Number 7, Rodriguez, Sugar Man.
Sugar man, won't you hurry?
If you know this name, you already feel something. If you don't, you are about to have one of those moments where music history rewrites itself in real time for you. Because what happened to Rodriguez is not just a music story, it is one of the most extraordinary human stories in rock history, period.
'Cause I'm tired of seeing.
Detroit, early 1970s. A quiet, mysterious man named Sixto Rodriguez records an album called Cold Fact for Sussex Records. The production is gorgeous, layered, soulful, poetic.
For a blue coin, won't you bring back?
His lyrics cut like a knife. Sugar Man is built around this aching, cinematic melody that feels like it belongs in a film about everything that's slipping away. His voice is somewhere between Bob Dylan and Scott Walker, but completely its own thing.
All those colors to my.
Sussex puts the record out, and in America, nothing. Virtually no sales. Radio ignores it. Rodriguez goes back to doing construction work in Detroit. He never knows what happens next. What happens next is this. Somehow, a copy of that album makes it to South Africa, and then another copy, and another. In the late 70s and into the 80s, Rodriguez becomes one of the biggest musical figures in South Africa. His album sells hundreds of thousands of copies. His songs become anthems for a generation living under apartheid, young people who desperately needed music that told the truth about the world.
ships you carry, jumper.
He is bigger there than Elvis, bigger than the Rolling Stones, and he has absolutely no idea. The fun fact, and it is almost too extraordinary to believe, is that in South Africa, rumors spread that Rodriguez had died on stage in some tragic, dramatic way.
Sweet Mary Jane.
Different versions of the story circulated for years, and all the while the man himself was alive in Detroit, working construction, completely unaware that he was a legend on the other side of the world. This is the controversy moment I promised you earlier. Let's go deep on this. I told you we'd come back to this, and here we are. The Rodriguez story has multiple layers, and not all of them are comfortable. Let's talk about the part that doesn't get discussed in the feel-good documentary version. When Cold Fact was selling massively in South Africa, someone was collecting royalties. Records were being pressed, distributed, sold. Money was moving. And Rodriguez, the man who wrote every word, sang every note, reportedly saw virtually none of it for a very long time. Now, there are different versions of what happened and who was responsible. Some point to the label infrastructure, the way licensing and international distribution worked or didn't work in that era. Some people in interviews have pointed fingers more directly. What is clear is that the system that was supposed to connect an artist to the income from their own work failed completely in this case for a very long time. In interviews and in the documentary Searching for Sugar Man, it's been said that when South African fans and journalists finally tracked Rodriguez down alive in Detroit in the late 1990s, he was genuinely moved, not angry, not bitter, just moved. That grace in the face of what he had been through says more about the man than any review ever could. But the controversy is this. The music industry has a long, documented history of losing or misplacing royalties owed to artists who didn't have the right lawyers, the right label power, or the right skin color in the right era. Rodriguez's story is not unique in its structure. It is unique in its scale and in the miracle of his rediscovery. But the mechanism of how a working-class man of color from Detroit could record a masterpiece and see almost nothing for decades that is a story about industry politics, about who gets protected and who gets left behind, about censorship. His music was banned for a period in apartheid South Africa, which only deepened its underground power and mystique, and about what happens when art travels faster than justice. That's why Sugar Man isn't just a song, it's a document. It's proof that music can survive everything the machine throws at it, and so can the man who made it. Rodriguez eventually received recognition. He toured, he was embraced, but it came late. Too late for the years that were taken. The legacy stands. The question of accountability for those who built careers in the music industry of that era, that conversation is still being had. That's why this tune isn't just music. It's history with a wound that never fully closed. We're at the halfway mark. Which song has hit you hardest so far? Drop it in the comments, I genuinely want to know. This is the kind of music that means different things to different people, and that conversation belongs to all of us. Number 6 is coming up, and this one has a British accent, a sound that should have conquered America, and a reason it didn't that will make you want to shake someone. Number 6. Benny Gallagher, of Gallagher and Lyle. Heart on My Sleeve. This song is the kind of thing that makes you stop whatever you're doing. It's simple, clean, achingly sincere. And Benny Gallagher's voice has this quality warm and worn at the same time, like a leather jacket that's been through some weather. When you hear it, you believe every single word. Scotland, mid-70s. Benny Gallagher and Graham Lyle had already paid serious industry dues. They wrote songs for Apple Records, worked with McCartney's Circle, and earned genuine respect from people who knew music inside and out. Their 1976 album Breakaway is where Heart on My Sleeve lived, released on A&M Records, produced with a care and restraint that was becoming rare in an era that was starting to chase bigger, louder, more bombastic sounds. The lyrics are about vulnerability, about loving someone and not knowing if that love is safe. And Gallagher sang it without a single drop of performance. Just truth. The song charted respectably in the UK. In America, it was covered by Art Garfunkel, and that version got more radio play than the original. Let that sit for a moment. The fun fact, and it's a bittersweet one, is that Elkie Brooks also covered this song, and her version became a signature track for her career. So here you have an original that is arguably more emotionally honest than either cover, and yet it's the covers that get remembered. That is one of the quiet injustices of the music business. The writer feeds everyone else's table and goes home with the smallest plate. Gallagher and Lyle as a duo never fully cracked America in the way their talent deserved. Part of it was timing. The late 70s were about to shift hard toward punk and then new wave, and soft rock with genuine emotional depth was getting squeezed off the airwaves. Part of it was that A&M, for all its quality, didn't always fight hardest for its quieter artists. And part of it, and this is just honest, is that the music world has always undervalued sincerity when spectacle is available. But that voice, that song, once it finds you, it doesn't let go. Number 5 is a name that even serious 70s rock fans sometimes draw a blank on, and that is The Whole Injustice. Because this man was a force. Absolutely a force. Number 5, Dan McCafferty of Nazareth, Telegram. Let's talk about what a hard rock vocal actually is. Not just screaming, not just volume, actual weight, the kind of voice that sounds like it has been through something and is still standing. Dan McCafferty had that voice. One of the great underappreciated rock vocalists in history, and Telegram is one of those deep cuts that reminds you why. Scotland again, because Scotland gave the 70s more than it ever got credit for. Nazareth formed in Dunfermline, and by the mid-70s they were a serious hard rock outfit with a reputation for live shows that left audiences wrecked in the best possible way. Down and play. Telegram, from their 1976 album Close Enough for Rock and Roll, was produced by Manny Charlton and released on Mooncrest and Mountain Records. McCafferty's voice on this track is relentless, gritty, and controlled at the same time, which is a much harder balance to strike than most singers understand. To catch the plane! Now you're on the road! The song itself crackles with urgency, with the feeling that something important is being communicated right now, and there is no time to waste. Nazareth are best remembered in America for their cover of Love Hurts, and fair enough, that is a brilliant recording. But it meant that for many American listeners, their entire catalog got filtered through one song, one ballad. While the hard rock backbone of what McCafferty and the band built over a decade got largely overlooked outside of their core fan base. What did you get so late to bed? The fun fact, and rock fans from this era will appreciate this, is that Love Hurts was actually a Bulow Bryant song originally recorded by the Everly Brothers. Nazareth's version transformed it so completely that most people under 40 think it's a Nazareth original. That is the power of a great vocal performance. But it also created a commercial identity that didn't reflect the full picture of what this band could do. McCafferty stepped back from Nazareth after health challenges in the 2010s, and he passed away in 2019. The catalog he left behind is vast and underexplored by anyone who only knows the one big hit. This is a man who gave everything to every single performance and deserves to be heard by every person who thinks they know 70s rock. Four more to go. And number 4, you might actually recognize this one more than you think. Because the song is out there. You have probably heard it. You just don't know who's singing it. Number 4, Danny Kirwan, Second Chapter.
Oh, my girl, you were damn pretty, sleepy-eyed.
There are musicians who exist at the center of a story, and then there are musicians who exist just off to the side of it, doing equally extraordinary work, while the spotlight stays fixed on someone else. Danny Kirwan was the second kind, and that quiet unfairness is worth sitting with.
In the Ramjam City, oh, don't you hide, oh, come inside.
Danny joined Fleetwood Mac in 1968 when he was just 18 years old. 18, already a guitarist and songwriter of serious ability, he became part of the original British blues-era Mac, the version led by Peter Green, before the band transformed into the California pop-rock machine that would conquer the world in the mid-70s. His solo album Second Chapter, released in 1975 on DJM Records, is where Second Chapter, the track lives, and it's a quiet, melodic piece of work that sounds like a man talking honestly about starting over, produced with an intimacy that suits the material. It's the kind of record that rewards patience and repeated listening. The lyrics feel personal in a way that most rock music doesn't allow itself to be. There's no armor in this song, no posturing, just a voice and a set of chords and something that needed to be said. Danny was dismissed from Fleetwood Mac in 1972 under circumstances that were shaped heavily by mental health struggles that were not handled well by anyone involved. In that era, mental health was not a conversation the music industry was having. You were either functioning or you were out, and Danny was out. The fun fact, painful as it is that Fleetwood Mac went on to sell over 40 million copies of Rumors just a few years after Danny left. The band he helped build, the guitar vocabulary he helped develop, the emotional honesty he brought to their early work, all of that is part of the foundation that Rumors stands on. He never shared in that success. By the mid-70s, when his solo work appeared, the band he had been part of was becoming one of the biggest acts on the planet, and he was largely invisible. Second Chapter is not just a song title. For Danny Kirwan, it was a plea, and the world wasn't really listening. We are heading into the top 3 now. These are the stories that go deepest. Number 3 has a voice that once filled stadiums and a disappearance that no one in the mainstream press ever fully explained. Number 3, Peter Hamill of Van der Graaf Generator, Losing Faith in Words.
I just can't see why you can't see why.
This one requires you to open your ears a little differently. This is not radio-friendly rock. This was never meant to be. This is the kind of music that found you rather than the other way around, and once it did, nothing sounded quite the same.
But I can't make things any better.
Van der Graaf Generator were a British prog rock band operating out of Manchester and London from the late 60s into the 70s. Peter Hammill was the voice, the songwriter, the center of gravity. And what a center of gravity he was.
The words get in the way. Is that quite what I mean? If
His vocal style is unlike anything else from this era, intense, almost uncomfortably direct, with a dramatic range that could go from a whisper to something that felt like a man coming apart in real time.
not now, and certainly sooner or later.
Losing Faith in Words is from his 1977 solo album Over, recorded for Charisma Records, one of the most genuinely adventurous labels of the British prog era. The song sits in that space where rock meets something more theatrical, more philosophical.
We'll have a problem.
The lyrics wrestle with the limits of language itself, with the idea that words are not always enough to say what a person needs to say.
With communication, look, I scrabble with my.
That concept alone tells you what kind of artist you are dealing with. The fun fact is that Peter Hammill is cited as a major influence by artists as varied as David Bowie, John Lydon of the Sex Pistols, and Robert Smith of The Cure. Bowie specifically acknowledged him.
Hands, and I try to get some linkage from her.
So the line from Van der Graaf Generator to post-punk is real and direct. Hamill's willingness to strip away comfort and confront the listener head-on planted seeds that flowered into whole genres. He just never received mainstream credit for it.
Articulation, but you just don't understand.
Why did Hamill fade from general consciousness? Partly it was the prog rock backlash. When punk arrived in 1976-77, anything that smelled of complexity or self-seriousness got dismissed almost overnight. Prog became a punchline, and artists like Hammill, who had built their entire identity on seriousness and depth, were suddenly coded as the enemy. It was unfair, and history has gradually corrected it, but the damage to mainstream visibility was real and lasting. When a man loses faith in words and still makes music this honest, that is courage. Full stop. Number 2 is coming, and this one carries personal weight for a lot of people in this audience. A voice that promised everything, and then one day it wasn't there anymore. Number 2, Tim Buckley, Sweet Surrender. If you want to understand the full range of what a human voice can do, not just sing, but move, reach, ache, you need to spend time with Tim Buckley. And Sweet Surrender is one of the places you start. Los Angeles, 1972. Tim Buckley was already a respected figure in the singer-songwriter world, but he was also someone who refused to stay still musically. He had already moved through folk, psychedelia, and avant-garde improvisation. Sweet Surrender. From the album of the same name on Straight Records, Frank Zappa's label was part of a period where Tim was pushing hard into soul and funk territory. The production is warm and loose, like a live session that caught something true. His voice on this recording has this incredible plasticity. He bends notes in ways that feel almost instrumental, like he is playing his larynx the way a jazz saxophonist plays their horn. The lyrics reach for love and release simultaneously. There's joy in the song, but there's also something underneath it, something restless. You can hear a man who is always searching for the next feeling, the next edge. The fun fact, and it is also the most heartbreaking part of this story, is that Tim Buckley's son, Jeff Buckley, went on to record Grace in 1994, which is widely considered one of the greatest albums ever made. Jeff passed away tragically in 1997 at 30, Tim passed away in 1975 at 28, a drug overdose, accidental, father and son, two extraordinary voices, both gone far too young, both leaving music behind that the world is still catching up to. Tim's catalog was scattered across multiple labels, with varying distribution, and his constant reinvention worked against him commercially. Every time an audience started to find him, he had already moved on to something they didn't expect. The music business of the 70s was not set up to support an artist who refused to repeat himself. Sweet Surrender is 3.5 minutes of proof that Tim Buckley could have had everything and chose honesty instead. That trade will always be worth it. And now, number 1. The frontman who, in many ways, represents the entire spirit of this countdown, gifted beyond measure, celebrated briefly, then gone so completely that even his name needs to be spoken aloud just to remind the world he was there.
Hey, Rocklore community. Before we continue, let's have a real talk for a second, bro. You know, this isn't just a channel to us. And I hope it's not just a place you come to watch a video and then forget about it. This is a community. It's a place where we get to dig up the secrets of rock and roll, share our favorite riffs, and celebrate the artists who maybe didn't get the love they deserved. Right now, only about 1% of our viewers are subscribed. We can change that together and grow this community. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on. When you do, you're not just helping a channel grow, you're becoming a member of the Rocklore family. You're signaling to us and to YouTube that these stories matter, that this music is worth preserving, and that this community is a place you want to be. Subscribing is your way of making sure you're always in the loop. It means you'll be the first to know when we unearth a forgotten legend, drop a new countdown, or dive into a piece of rock history you've never heard before. So if you're a true fan of the lore, if you get that same feeling of discovery that I do, then come join us. It takes 1 second to be a part of something bigger.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 1. Arthur Lee of Love, A House Is Not a Motel. Close everything else down for this one, because what Arthur Lee built and what this song represents is the kind of work that does not come around twice. Los Angeles, 1967. Releasing into the early 70s consciousness, Love was a band that should have been the biggest rock act in America. They were critically adored. Their album Forever Changes, which contains the DNA of A House Is Not a Motel, is ranked among the greatest albums in history by virtually every serious music publication that has ever existed. Arthur Lee was the leader, black, gifted, strange in the best possible way, making psychedelic rock with Chicano musicians in LA, mixing strings and acoustic guitars with something that felt genuinely dangerous underneath. The label was Elektra Records. Producer Paul Rothchild, the same man who worked with The Doors, was involved in their work. A House Is Not a Motel is electric, hard-edged in a way that the rest of Forever Changes is not. It lurches and spirals, with a guitar break that lands like a storm. The lyrics talk about war, about the world falling apart, about the impossibility of finding stability in chaos. Arthur wrote it in a specific political moment: Vietnam, civil unrest, the sense that American society was cracking along every seam. It still sounds like it was written this morning. The The fun fact is that Love, despite being based in Los Angeles, the center of the American music industry, almost never toured. Arthur Lee was famously reluctant to leave the Hollywood Hills. While The Doors, Jefferson Airplane, and the Grateful Dead were building national audiences by playing live relentlessly, Love stayed home. Elektra Records eventually shifted their focus and promotional muscle to The Doors. The timing and the comparison were brutal for Love's mainstream trajectory. Arthur Lee's story in the years that followed is one of the most complicated in rock history. Lineup changes, label issues, struggles with addiction, creative periods that produced brilliant work with almost no commercial infrastructure around them. He served prison time in the 1990s on a weapons charge that many in the music community felt was disproportionate. He was released, he returned to touring, he brought forever changes to live audiences who were experiencing it for the first time and for whom it landed like a revelation. He passed away from leukemia in 2006. The tragedy of Arthur Lee is not simply that he vanished. It's that the machine around him was never built to carry what he was making. A black man leading a psychedelic rock band in the 1960s and 70s, making music that defied genre, refused simplicity, and demanded that you pay full attention. The industry barely had a box to put him in. And when it couldn't categorize him, it largely moved on. A House Is Not a Motel is not a forgotten song. It is a song the world forgot to fight for, and that is a different kind of loss entirely.